What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raised.
Everyone's favorite teen drama follows the story of Archie Andrews in the town of Riverdale. Based on the characters from Archie Comics, the show explores the seemingly pristine town of Riverdale and its dark underbelly. The show has been praised for the reimagining of its classic source material that proves eerie, odd, daring, and above all, addictive. The dark take on the timeless Archie characters has been wildly popular, filled with murderous twists and turns along the way. Perhaps surprisingly, the show boasts quite the hefty body count. As of its 60th episode, there have been a whopping 63 deaths. You heard that right, there have been more deaths than episodes. In this video, we're going to take an in-depth look at every single death on the show, following the story chronologically from the first up to the last. The show has a rich and intricate backstory, with much of the exposition happening before the start of the first episode. Throughout the series, the audience learns more and more about the happenings before the show's beginning. The very first death in the timeline of the story was the murder of Grandpappy Blossom at the hands of Grandpappy Cooper, his brother. A disagreement over a shared business led to fratricide and set off a series of events that would have long-standing repercussions throughout the show. Even though this is the show's first death in the timeline of events, it isn't revealed until episode 21 of season 2, titled Chapter 34, Judgement Night. The next series of deaths also occurred in the backstory and were revealed in season 2, episode 8, titled Chapter 21, House of the Devil. It was the gruesome murder of the Conway family at the hands of the Riverdale Reaper. Mary Ellen, Jim, Sue, and Tommy Conway were shot to death for the crime of knowing the Cooper Blossom family's secret. In an attempt to find the Riverdale Reaper, an innocent man was captured and mistaken for the villain. Unfortunately, he was buried alive, marking the show's first unnamed victim. The real Riverdale Reaper, later revealed to be Lewis Cooper, then died of unknown causes. In Season 3, Episode 4, titled Chapter 39, The Midnight Club, the deaths of 3 characters from before the first episode are uncovered. Archie Andrews, the father of Fred, died from an illness on Ascension Night. Felix Featherhead, the principal of the school, committed suicide by ingesting lethal amounts of cyanide with blueberry freshaid. A couple of other notable deaths that occur before the season's first episode are those of Hermosa Lodge's mother and Sheriff Howard, both from unknown causes. Well, that's all the deaths in chronological order that predate the first season. Are you ready to dive into the storyline from episode 1 now? The show wastes no time giving the audience its first murder with the death of Jason Blossom. Murdered by his father, Clifford Blossom, for threatening to reveal a secret drug-dealing business, Jason's body was discovered on the shore of the Sweetwater River. Fittingly, the first episode is titled Chapter 1, The River's Edge. This was the event that began to reveal the shady underworld surrounding the outwardly wholesome town. 11 episodes later, we see the second murder committed by Clifford Blossom. In Chapter 12, Anatomy of a Murder, Mustang is killed by Blossom for his involvement in Jason's murder. He attempts to cover it up by staging it as an accidental drug overdose. Justice comes swiftly to Clifford Blossom, though, as he is murdered by his wife, Penelope Blossom. Avenging her son, Penelope poisons Clifford with a pufferfish and stages a suicide by hanging. This marks the final death in Season 1. Season 2 wastes no time in providing more carnage. In the episode Chapter 14, A Kiss Before Dying, Geraldine Grundy is strangled to death with a cello bow at the hands of a newly minted vigilante menace, Black Hood. Several episodes later, in Chapter 19, Death Proof, Robert Phillips is shot by the Black Hood for the crime of dealing drugs to children. A couple of episodes later, a Jingle Jangle addict is killed when he is hit by a train. Joseph Svensson, later revealed to be Joseph Conway, is shot and killed in the episode Chapter 22, Silent Night, Deadly Night. While posing as the Black Hood, Svensson is shot in the chest by Sheriff Keller. An episode later, an unknown man is stabbed to death with scissors. Originally thought to be Charles Smith, high on Jingle Jangle, a polygraph test reveals that Charles had found Chick covered with the blood of the victim. The next death in the show is the murder of Paul Boucher, aka Papa Poutine. In Chapter 25, The Wicked and the Divine, Boucher is shot in the head by Andre, who is hired by Hiram Lodge. Lodge had become aware of a plan by Boucher to kill him, so he got the jump on him instead. The same episode features another homicide, this time committed by Chick in alleged self-defense. Dwayne, aka Shady Man, is bludgeoned to death with a lamp after supposedly going after Alice Cooper. The second murder committed by Andre happens in the episode Chapter 27, The Hills Have Eyes, in which he shoots Cassidy Bullock in a bid to save Veronica. The murder is later framed onto Andre by none other than Hiram Lodge. Well, we're far from the end of Riverdale's murders. The Black Hood got back at it again in episode Chapter 31, A Night to Remember, in which he murders Midge Klump for the sin of being a jingle-jangle addict. He brutally crucifies her to a wall before the start of a school musical. In between the Black Hood's murders, an unknown man is found mutilated in Chapter 33, Shadow of a Doubt. In the following episode, Chapter 34, Judgement Night, Black Hood continues his rampage as he murders Dr. Stephen Masters. Masters made the mistake of asking too many questions when Hal Cooper sought medical attention for an arrow wound he received at the hands of Cheryl Blossom. The show has a sense of karma, as Andrew is killed in the same episode by Small Fry Boucher, the son of Paul Boucher. Then Small Fry meets his demise when he is shot to death by Hermione Lodge after he broke into the Lodge apartment. The stack of bodies is piling high as we move on to Season 3. The first death in this season comes 2 episodes in. During Chapter 37, Fortune in Men's Eyes, Dilton Dolly commits suicide with a cyanide and blueberry fresh aid mixture, much like Felix Featherhead had done so many years before. Also revealed in this episode is an off-screen death, Dr. Curdle. He dies sometime between the end of Season 2 and the start of Season 3. The episode continues its trend of self-inflicted carnage when Ben Button commits suicide by defenestration. It's all part of the game, Griffins and Gargoyles, which required even more suicides. Warden Norton becomes the third character to commit suicide by cyanide and blueberry fresh aid. In the same episode that reveals the past murder of Daryl Dolly, Chapter 41, Manhunter, the Shadow Lake Boys are shot at the request of Hiram Lodge. Lodge was attempting to cover up his tracks as he bribed the boys into his framing attempt against Archie. The same episode features yet another suicide by cyanide for the G&G game, this time committed by Joaquin DeSantos. The cyanide suicides continue to rack up as 3 episodes later, 7 nuns ingest lethal amounts as part of the Griffins and Gargoyles game. The next episode, Chapter 45, The Stranger, features 2 more homicides. Gerald Petite, aka Tallboy, is accidentally shot by Fangs while attempting to escape his captivity. Next is the murder of Claudius Blossom at the hands of Penelope Blossom by poison. A character who is already thought to be dead winds up dead in the next episode as Sheriff Minetta is shot to death by Hermione Lodge, the woman he was having an affair with. They had conspired together to take down Hiram. After Minetta was shot by Archie, Hermione finished the job herself to tie up any loose ends. Then there was the drowning of Marigold during her baptism at the hands of the farm. In Chapter 52, The Raid, Brandon Morris, aka Baby Teeth, dies from blood loss due to injuries received as part of G&G. He was found with a matchbook lodged in his throat, all his teeth pulled out, and symbols carved into his back. The brutal act was committed by the Gargoyle Gang at the bequest of the Gargoyle King. One of the few accidental deaths in the show is that of Randy Ronson, who dies from a drug overdose in Chapter 54, Fear the Reaper. The same episode also features the death of Kurtz, a member of the Gargoyle Gang. His body is discovered by Jughead, and it is assumed that he was killed by the Gargoyle King. The mayhem doesn't end there though, as the 4 prison inmates and their bus driver are killed in a traffic collision. The bus was transporting the inmates to Hiram Lodge's new prison when the bus exploded and crashed, killing all except one mysterious survivor. The next episode marks the return of Black Hood. As Betty and Jughead set up a trap for the Gargoyle King, she is attacked by the Black Hood. As she flees, she sees the deceased bodies of several students, including a decapitated body in the janitor's closet. It's uncertain whether these deaths were caused by Black Hood or the Gargoyle King. The final death of Season 3 is the murder of Hal Cooper, who was shot in the head by Penelope Blossom. Unbeknownst to the audience members at the time of the episode's release date was that Penelope had stopped the rampage of the Black Hood, who was in fact Hal Cooper. We've finally made it to the 4th season. The first death of this season comes in Chapter 58, In Memoriam, in which Fred Andrews dies in a hit and run. Actor Luke Perry tragically died in March 2019, and this episode was a tribute to the character he portrayed on the show. In perhaps the most satisfying death in the series, Edgar Evernever meets his demise at the hands of Alice Cooper. He was tracked down by Betty and Charles and found in an abandoned motel, where Cooper unloaded 2 rounds into his chest. The show's second suicide by defenestration comes in Chapter 63, Hereditary. Mr. Chipping throws himself out of a window and falls to his death in front of a horrified Jughead. The show's latest death is the murder of Uncle Bedford Blossom. In a callback to the classic board game's Clue, Uncle Bedford is bludgeoned with a candlestick by Toni Topaz. Toni was rescuing his niece, who was being choked by Bedford. A mere 60 episodes into this amazing series, and the death count is at a whopping 63. While 12 happened before the series began and 11 happened off-screen, there's no denying that Riverdale is a show full of suspense and indiscriminate bloodshed. We're super excited for the start of the next season. Let us know what you think in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe to Movie Rays and hit the like button. See you in the next video.